No update. No, just felt a little something in her groin, so we'll get it evaluated and see what happens from there.
Caitlin Clark started crying instead of just limping off the court. Additionally, if you believe that this was just your completely mistaken, another game.
Down to the end of the court, you can tell that she's in pain. You can tell that there's something wrong. She goes to the, what's it called, like stanchion or whatever, the thing that holds up the basketball hoop on the other end. She hits her head on it. She is fighting back tears and she walks straight over to the bench. Now, when she goes over to the bench, she starts crying, and I've honestly never seen Caitlin Clark cry on the court except when she lost the national championship game. She keeps it together no matter what is happening. But you could just tell that something happened on that play, and it was either the pain of it, it was either like, here we go again, it was frustration.
There was more to what transpired against the Connecticut Sun than just an injury. She was a total failure. Coach, the league, and her front office. Are you curious about the true culprit behind Caitlin Clark's suffering? Enough is enough, so let's dissect everything. Let's not act as though this happened overnight. We observed the cautionary indicators from day one. What did they do when Caitlin Clark suffered a quad injury during the preseason instead of providing her with adequate rest? Returned her to Iowa so she could play in an exhibition. Why? PR. Sales of tickets. Hype. It wasn't about health. It was about headlines. She then made it worse during the season. What took place? Yes, they sat her for a while, but when things became difficult, she's back out there, boom. Once more. And once more. Did anyone pause to inquire about her readiness? Did they only notice dollar signs? And force her to return in uniform? She now has a groin problem, re-injury following another injury. Is this her new normal? Profession? Because it appears that the Fever are okay with the way they are handling her. Could you tell me if this was LeBron, Luka, or Steph? Would they have to play through this? Or would their team genuinely defend a member of their franchise? The play appeared innocuous. Clark created a slick backdoor dish out of one of her signature dimes. The audience adored it. Traditional Caitlin. She didn't flee back though. She froze. Grasped her groin, took a step or two, then stooped. The change in energy was immediately noticeable. She was tightly gripping her hip as the camera panned. Her expression conveyed everything. She made an effort to persevere because that's what she usually does, but she eventually left, strolled away. Not jogged, not replaced with high fives. Head buried, he walked, limping, straight to the stanchion. No fuss. No flopping, just excruciating pain. I'm not sure about you, but I've never witnessed Caitlin Clark cry in such a way. Ever. Despite being body-checked, flung to the ground, and elbowed in the face, she has never displayed any emotion. In that manner. What does that tell you then? Do you know what's crazy? This league has literally thrown everything at her. Kennedy Carter gave her a shoulder check. She was flattened by Marina Mabrey. Every game, she has been hit. She feels as though someone is jumping her in a parking lot. And there are still no tears. She gets to her feet, cleans the contact. Continues. But not this evening. It was different tonight. There was more than just pain when Caitlin buried her face in that towel. It was tiredness. Mental, physical, and emotional. It was visible to you. Last. She reached her breaking point. Furthermore, it was not a hit. Her body gave up on her, which is what caused it. That ought to frighten everyone in that front desk. Because it's a sign that someone has been pushed too far when they finally let go. And for what purpose? To outdo the Sun in July? To sell out another game on the road? How much does it cost? Your superstar doesn't run into the ground prior to the All-Star break and anticipate her remaining silent indefinitely. What do you suppose Clark was considering while she was sobbing while sitting there? Do you think she's beginning to doubt everything? And as you consider the night, the referees are the ugliest thing that could possibly happen. They allowed Connecticut to get away with murder based on the tip. Hand-checking, snatching, and holding Clark as he exits each screen. What about the whistle? Nowhere to be discovered. She had had enough by the third quarter. After each no-call, you could see her screaming. Then, in the course of a review, the camera pans closer. She turns to the referee and says, "Grow up," with clarity. Direct, fearless, and unfiltered. Just plain annoyance. She to blame. This is not brand new. Since the first game, she has been the focus of physical defense. What's different tonight? She was no longer able to control her anger. To be honest, I'm relieved that someone had to say it. She finally stated it herself because neither the coach nor the referees had shielded her. However, I would like to know why she, the only one defending herself. What is lost in the mayhem? Even so, Caitlin Clark was present. She had 14 points, 7 assists, 8 rebounds, and a 21-point box score prior to the injury. She set up her teammates, ran transitions, and planned the offense. The fever took over when she was on the ground. Connecticut closed the gap when she took a seat. Despite all of the injuries, poor decisions, and cold shooting, she continued. And she snapped just prior to the injury in that fourth quarter to pull up in the middle range. A deep three, a backdoor cut, free throws, the dagger stretch, boom, boom, boom. She provided Indiana with the support they required, and then her body failed. And that is the most painful thing. She is exerting every effort to maintain this, keeping the team afloat. And who is there for her when she breaks? Where is the defense? Where is the responsibility? Now, we need to discuss Stephanie White because these rotations don't make any sense. Clark spends 4 minutes on stage, plays 3, sits for 6, and sits for 5. How is she going to establish a rhythm? How should her body remain? Loose due to a soft tissue injury. Have you ever played ball with sore quadriceps or tight hips? Then attempt to jump while seated. Back in the cold, it's a catastrophe. You have cramps. You stiffen up. You run the risk of getting hurt again. That is precisely what is taking place. Furthermore, White pulls her immediately after she makes a significant shot. When she scores runs, she benches her. Even though it's obviously not working, she has Clark and Arie McDonald on the floor together. What is the strategy in this situation? Caitlin is being rotated like a bench rookie, despite the fact that you would think they would treat her like a franchise player. She's paying the price now, see? How long before Clark says, "I'm done," outright? There isn't a strategy here, let's face it. There is desperation, chaos, and panic. Day at camp. Act like Caitlin. Weekend of All-Stars? Encourage her to continue. Ask the crowd large? Include her. Is your groin still sore? Well, sell those tickets. Every choice seems hurried and impulsive. Not a single action appears to be intended for her long-term well-being. Even worse, she's being chased around the nation, press, flights, and events. When she doesn't get any rest, how is she going to heal? She has a strained quad. She has a problem with her groin. However, she continues to dress to impress every night. Is the front desk even aware of this? How can a superstar be managed? Or are they simply hoping she won't say no? Stephanie, you already know what. After the game, White said, correct? Something was in her groin, we'll have it assessed. Does that sound familiar? Yes, it ought to. When Clark had a quad problem a few weeks ago, they said the exact same thing. And you know what transpired? She was absent for 10 days. The moment prior to that? The same tale daily, they stated. Then she vanished once more. Thus, when they strike us with the same, how are we supposed to think it's nothing serious at this point? To be honest, Caitlin Clark has been arriving back too early each and every time. And each time, her injuries worsen. That isn't always bad luck. That is simply poor management. This is the result of treating injuries as a public relations issue rather than a medical one. When your head coach avoids confrontation by providing robotic responses rather than taking responsibility for the situation. More is what the fans deserve. Caitlin is deserving of more. She is more than just a player. She is the draw, the engine. The cause of the viewer's attention. We also don't get honesty if she doesn't. Why is it so difficult for them to just be honest? Is it really about shielding her, or are they just trying to hide their own errors? Because at this moment, they don't seem to be exercising caution. They seem to be acting irresponsibly. What do you think, then? Is Stephanie White telling the truth, or is this just more smoke to hide yet another poor choice? Not to mention that Indiana technically prevailed in this match. 85-77 is the final score. T appears solid on paper. 23 points were lost by Kelsey Mitchell. The paint was dominated by Natasha Howard. Off the bench, Sophie Cunningham contributed valuable minutes. You look at the box score. And everything appears to be in order, correct? The problem is that, at this point, none of that really matters. Not at all. Due to the fact that people. Caitlin Clark will be remembered from this game as she hobbled off the court in agony, tears streaming down her cheeks. Fans will remember that picture far more than the outcome. He'll be honest, it ought to. A victory is pleasant. However, when your star player, the face of your team and, to be honest, the face of the entire WNBA, is physically failing. How do you celebrate that, both emotionally and publicly? How do you enter the locker room with a smile on your face when your leader is crying? Before the break, tonight ought to have been a celebration and a confidence boost. Rather, it became a huge awakening called, "What's going on in Indiana behind the scenes? Why are they allowing this to occur, and who is making the decisions?" Failures in coaching, medicine, and leadership in a single game, everything fell apart. I will therefore pose the question that no one wishes to respond. Was the victory truly worthwhile? Because from my vantage point, it appeared that the price was significantly excessively high. It really is this easy. She should be fully seated. Not for a short while. Not on a fictitious minute restriction. Just give her a seat. Put an end to her for a BITNO All-Star game, no three-point contest. Oh, we'll wait until tomorrow to see how she feels. The charade is over. You can't continue to discard her in this manner. She's already overcome a quad injury. It's a groin problem now. What comes next? Are we anticipating an Achilles rupture or an ACL tear? Because if you continue to press her, it's only a matter of time until something really serious occurs with a body like this. Give the girl some rest. Let her heal properly at last. And she might be able to make a strong comeback for the second half of the season. If she hasn't already mentally checked out from this franchise, that is, to be honest, if she did, would you blame her? She is being handled less like a human being and more like a product, that is, if she were merely a body to sell tickets and jerseys. Figures. She is more than that though. Your franchise is her. It was she who broke viewership records, packed arenas,